Greetings everyone, I'm Adam Haritan. I'm hanging out in the woods on this beautiful early spring morning, and I've got a question for you. When you think of the woods, like these woods right here, what do you think of? What comes to mind? Do you think of trees? Do you think of wildflowers? Do you think of mushrooms? Do you think of birds? How about shrimp? Do you think of shrimp? Now, I imagine your answer to the last question is no, unless you're thinking about the edible mushroom shrimp of the woods. But would you believe me if I told you that a diminutive shrimp-like creature belongs to these woods just as much as the trees, the wildflowers, the mushrooms, and the birds do? To tell you the truth, for the longest time, I wouldn't have thought that anything shrimp-like could be found in the woods near my home in western Pennsylvania. But when I started paying attention and looking more closely at who inhabits these woods, I encountered something so remarkable, so mysterious, so foreign to me, yet so beautiful that I knew I had to share it with all of you. These 1-inch long aquatic crustaceans are known as fairy shrimp, and they live in very specialized habitats called vernal pools. It is within these vernal pools that fairy shrimp hatch from eggs, they grow to adulthood, they breed, and they die. And because vernal pools are usually temporary habitats that are filled with water for only part of the year, the lifespan of a fairy shrimp is very short. Now, within vernal pools, fairy shrimp are among the first animals to hatch from eggs. Few threats exist within vernal pools early in the year, and food is plentiful. Fairy shrimp scrape the bottom of the pool and filter from the water their food, including algae and flatworm eggs. A key feature of vernal pools, and a big reason that fairy shrimp are able to proliferate here, is that fish are absent. There are no permanent connections between vernal pools and streams, rivers, or lakes. If permanent connections are made, then predatory fish could easily enter the pools and feast on the defenseless prey. But here in this particular vernal pool, no fish are present, and the fairy shrimp are enjoying, for now, a mostly carefree life. Now, you may have noticed something interesting about fairy shrimp. They swim upside down. Pairs of leaf-like appendages propel their bodies through the water. You'll also notice that colors can vary, and this is because diet influences color. Males have sets of claspers on their heads that help them attach to females while mating. Females have brood sacs that contain the eggs. After mating, females release their fertilized eggs, and these eggs fall to the bottom of the pool. The late hours of the night offer an excellent opportunity to observe dozens, if not hundreds, of fairy shrimp. They seem to be attracted to bright lights. If you shine a flashlight into the water, fairy shrimp will congregate and hang out in the illuminated areas for quite a long time. Now, the carefree days of living in the vernal pool are numbered, because conditions change dramatically. Salamanders and their larvae eventually find and eat fairy shrimp, as do waterfowl like mallards, northern pintails, and blue-winged teals that visit vernal pools during spring migration. Many adult fairy shrimp do survive predation simply because so many of them exist. But the survivors cannot defend themselves against what is soon to come: warm temperatures, lower oxygen levels, and a dried up pool. Any species within the vernal pool that hasn't developed a strategy for supporting its offspring when the pool dries up is at risk of disappearing. But we humans shouldn't be so concerned about our beloved fairy shrimp, because these aquatic crustaceans have developed an ingenious strategy to mitigate risk. The eggs that the females lay before the pools dry up survive desiccation and freezing. So when the pools dry up in late summer, the eggs go dormant and they don't hatch until conditions are appropriate again. Even more fascinating is the fact that the eggs can remain dormant for years. If the pool doesn't fill up with water the following year, most of the eggs will still be viable. They'll survive desiccation, they'll survive freezing conditions, and they'll wait it out until the water returns. When the water returns, a portion of the eggs will hatch in late winter or early spring, and give rise to larvae that become adults in as little as a few weeks. The adults will mate, the females will lay eggs, all fairy shrimp will eventually perish as temperatures warm and the water evaporates, and the cycle will repeat over and over again. Fairy shrimp keep algae levels low in vernal pools, and they provide food for numerous animals, which in turn provide food for other animals, which disperse seeds, build habitat, regulate insect populations, and maintain diversity. In other words, fairy shrimp belong to these woods just as much as everything else that we think of as belonging to these woods does. If you've never seen fairy shrimp before, I strongly encourage you to visit a vernal pool and look for these amazing creatures whose lesson for us today, I think, is this. There are things in these woods that we could see. There are things in these woods that we should see. But there are things in these woods that we don't see. Try to change that. Go on an adventure, maybe late at night with a flashlight, or during the day, it doesn't matter. Look for things you've never seen before, and hang out with people who allow you to see things that you don't see, like fairy shrimp, which are amazing creatures that live and die within our woodland vernal pools. They're not around for long, but they are around just long enough for you and I to see them, to learn them, and to perhaps even fall in love with them.